One of my favorite all-time books that I've probably read 20 times growing up, especially when I was younger. And I watched the movie of the book that was made into a series probably 10 times over my lifetime, is Anne of Green Gables. And if you have not read Anne of Green Gables or watched the movie, which the one I like was made in 1985, and they made that into, I think it's a 4-part series. If you have not read my beloved Anne of Green Gables, you must do so because it's a wonderful, wonderful book. But I'm going to use my beloved Anne of Green Gables. I'm going to use Anne to answer a question for us. And the question I have for us is, does reading the Bible in a year, especially when we're starting in January, set us up for failure? What is the best strategy for reading the Bible? I want to tackle this question because I think it's possible that starting a daily reading program, especially in January, might work against us and set us up for failure. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to set us up for failure. And this is where my beloved Anne comes in. Now, Anne is an orphan, and at 11 years old, she accidentally comes to live with an older couple, a brother and sister who run their family farm. And as they are getting older, they need a boy to help out. And so they send word to the orphanage that they need a boy. And through some series of mishaps and communications, they are sent a girl, Anne. And not only were they sent Anne, a girl, or Anne with an E, should I say, if you read the books and watch the movie, it's always Anne with an E. They didn't just get a girl, they got Anne. She is talkative, she's quirky, she's spirited, she never stops talking, she's just a handful. And as they try to resolve this problem that Anne is not a boy, they start to feel sorry for her. And eventually they warm up to the idea and they end up adopting Anne. And of course, there's a lot of interesting storylines along the way because Anne is always getting into scrapes without intending to. She just happens to do all the wrong things. But slowly, as the series progresses and Anne gets older, we start to see Anne settle in to this love around her. And I would say the love of herself as well. And we see her maturing. And we see a girl that starts to see that not every mistake she makes is the end of the world. It's one of those scrapes that my favorite line comes from, and as silly as this sounds, this line from this fictional story impacted how I see life. And in fact, Mike has called it one of my greatest characteristics and my greatest strength. So in the story, Anne, who is now 13 years old, is hosting a get-together for the new minister's wife, Mrs. Allen, who Anne has already not made a very good impression of. And as she has not made a good impression on Mrs. Allen, Anne is determined to make the best cake she can for Mrs. Allen. Unfortunately, in Anne's usual excitement and her lack of attention to detail, she grabs a bottle of liniment instead of vanilla. Now, liniment is, we don't really work with liniment now because this was written a long time ago. Liniment is like menthol or camphor, and it's used in medicine. And so she puts menthol in the cake instead of the vanilla she was supposed to use. And of course, you can imagine that was a disaster. The cake did not turn out the way Anne wanted it to turn out. It's just another classic Anne moment where good intentions collide with disastrous results. But as Anne reflects on her failure with her beloved teacher, Miss Stacy, we see a maturity about her. And it's in what Anne says to the teacher, Miss Stacy, that I find profoundly insightful. She tells Miss Stacy, tomorrow is always fresh with no mistakes in it. There it is. One of my major life's credo. Tomorrow is fresh with no mistakes in it. Mike has called this, like I said, one of my best characteristics. The ability to wake up each morning with a new day attitude, which was particularly helpful when we adopted 2 daughters from Russia and had to deal each day with adoptive trauma from their time in an orphanage. The hardest days of my life were helped by rising each morning with yesterday behind me and the day fresh and new, and I was ready to fight for that fresh and new day. I introduced my beloved Anne to you because this is a sentiment we can bring with us as we start our reading the Bible in a year. And it's something that I touched on in another one of my intro videos, but I really want to bring it to light today. Is reading the Bible in a year the best or worst strategy? Because it's possible, maybe even probable, that what will happen is the same thing that happens when we start a New Year's resolution. Like, we want to exercise more. We want to go on the diet. We want to lose a few pounds, right? We want to do something new and good that we've been meaning to do. And what inevitably ends up happening is that the good we want to do is interrupted by busyness, by family, by life, by illness, by circumstances, basically. All the things that get in the way of our good intentions. I liken it to Paul's struggle with doing the right thing, or as I affectionately call it, the dance of the do's, or the dance of the do's and the dance of the do's and the do nots. Paul says, in essence, I do not understand what I do. What I want to do, I do not do, but I do what I hate to do. I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, and on and on. Paul, the most eloquent writer of the Bible, uses some form of the word do at least 24 times in these verses in Romans 7, which is found in verses 14 to 21. I couldn't help wondering who edited that portion of Paul's writing, because I'm pretty sure it would not pass inspection for today's editing standards, just saying. Paul's right, though. We don't do what we want to do, and when we don't, we have a tendency to completely give up and throw in the towel. Paul knew firsthand that tendency, and because he did, he followed Romans 7 with Romans 8, which tells us there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, because through him, the law of the Spirit who gives life has set us free. When we commit to something that requires time, effort, and discipline, like reading the Bible every day, we are going to falter, and that's okay. Tomorrow is fresh, no matter what today brings or doesn't bring with it. The worst thing we can do is give in to failure and let it dictate what happens tomorrow. If you watched my second intro video, you saw how I addressed our feelings. The title of that video is You're Not the Boss of Me. It's a video about not giving in to our feelings. We don't need to have a defeatist attitude in our defeat. And when failure happens, because it absolutely will happen, remember my beloved Anne with an E, or better yet, read the book or watch the movie, and remember that tomorrow is always fresh with no mistakes in it. For all those good things in your life that you want to do, don't always do, or interrupted in the doing, start again. And then start again, and start again, and again, and again. I'm starting this series on January 1st, but I encourage anyone to start this series any time of the year. And unless you're in a group with other women and need to keep pace with the group, which I get, you can read the Bible and watch the weekly videos at your own pace, because sometimes slowing down is the best thing you can do. It took me a year to get through the first 5 books of the Bible in preparation for doing this series. And when it did, I was a bit horrified because I knew I had 61 more books to go. I had 61 more books to read, to research, to write, to edit, to record, to post. I mean, it was a little daunting. But those 5 books and that first year were such a blessing, such a blessing. I couldn't have quickened my pace even if I wanted to. I was way too enthralled with each day's readings and what those readings brought to me. Lamentations 3:22-23 tells us, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." Lucy Maud Montgomery is the author of Anne of Green Gables, and she wrote this story more than 100 years ago. She was raised in a Christian home and married a minister. She was a believer, and it appears from her writings that she knew that God's grace and His love are new every morning. They are not dependent on perfect performances or imperfect mistakes. I've made lots of mistakes in my life, yet God's mercies meet me every morning like a beautiful sunrise which refuses to be dimmed by yesterday's clouds. God's grace refuses to be dimmed. And so the best strategy for reading the Bible isn't a strategy at all. It's a get rid of strategy and do it when you can and as often as you can. It doesn't matter when you start. It doesn't matter whether you stay on schedule. It doesn't matter if you follow along or linger for a while or race ahead of schedule. It only matters that you do it and that you see God's truth and grace in it all, in both the doing and the not doing. The reason I wanted to do this video as one of my intro videos is to relieve yourself of the pressure of treating the Bible in our time together like just another New Year's resolution that's going to fall by the wayside. I want to encourage you to just rise each morning with each day fresh, leave yesterday behind. And when you keep starting new, somewhere down the line, you'll find that what you have is not a plan or a strategy at all. What you have is love for God's word, and you can't help but make time to be in it, day and night, night and day. Won't that be something? I have one more intro video as I look forward to taking this journey with you. Don't forget to go to each week's notes in the description. I'll post a relevant song for each episode, including this particular introductory video. I think you'll be blessed by each song. Today's song I chose is taken directly from that Lamentations verse I quoted earlier. It's the amazing version of "Great is Thy Faithfulness" sung by Carrie Underwood and CeCe Winan. Hope you'll be as blessed as I was in listening to it. All right, so there we are. Intro number 4 is done. I have one more intro video coming, so I will see you next time. And look at the schedule, and if you want to start reading, you can start reading whenever you want. See you soon. Bye.